Today, on the January 27th, 2025, we will delve into China as a part of the Geopolitical Part 3. Before we go into the details, just put down what China as compared to USA is. The GDP of USA is at 27 to 28 trillion dollars. China is between 19 and 20 trillion dollars. However, China's manufacturing capacity is 31 to 36% of the global manufacturing capacity, while America sits at 16% of global capacity. However, to get a better understanding of what exactly dollar for dollar what China's spending is, we can go to purchasing power parity rates. There, China is at $37 trillion, whereas USA is sitting at $29 trillion. So the US has been outstripped by the Chinese. Other areas are R&D spending, and also where the China outstrips Americans. Number of tractors, China outstrips Americans. And in addition to that, the Chinese model is based on cooperation, developing infrastructure, shared prosperity, while Americans are basically on security arrangements and the rest. Next, we'll talk about how Trump is reacting to China. Yes, now what Trump is doing, he's considering imposing a 10% tariff on China, 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada. Mexico now is the largest trading partner with the US at about $467 billion. China comes second at $401 billion. And close third is Canada. His strategy is by imposing these tariffs, but at the same time reducing taxes on personal income, Trump can offset the effect on the people. However, at the same time, India defense people, led by Jay Shankar, arrived in Washington, D.C. And what they're proposing with Mark Rubio is the India-U.S. Defense Pact. This bill proposes to put India at the same level as Japan, Korea, and NATO, and exempt India from any sanction, but impose sanctions on Pakistan for promoting terrorism in India. This bill was originally proposed on July 25th on the Senate with Korea, NATO, and the rest. And it proposes to bar Pakistan and China from receiving security assistance if it sponsors terrorism, which of course they'll find itself. It requires a report to Congress on Pakistan using offensive forces, including through terrorism, proxy groups against India, and bar Pakistan from receiving security assistance on sponsored terrorism. This is the first time such an India-centric bill has been introduced to the U.S. Congress. It proposes to put India on the same level as that of our treaty allies. Trump has started the Stargate project. It's an artificial intelligence thing, $500 billion to be spent over the next 4 years. Unfortunately for them, China came up with DeepSeek, spent $6 million, spent 4 months, and that AI has outstripped all the American artificial intelligence model of OpenAI. Basically, they can take all the billions they want. China's going to match them with purchasing power parity with a few $1 million and outstrip them. Apparently, what Trump approach is very audacious step to reshape global war order and a rejection of so-called rules-based promoted by Joe Biden. Trump seeks to replace this outlined as his own Trump rules, which remain unwritten but are already beginning to take shape. Strength rather than norm as equality will define the balance of power in the Trump's vision of the world. For Russia, understanding and adapting to this will be essential in relations with America, which remains a preeminent global superpower. Trump's geopolitical ambitions extend far beyond Eastern Europe. His focus lies in rewriting international order in ways that consolidate America's primary, while renegotiating the terms of engagement for allies and adversaries alike. In the defense sphere, what America will do is contain China. On the Pacific Rim, it has allies like Japan, South Korea, India, Australia, Philippines, and there's arrangements with Indonesia, Malaysia to contain China, especially its trade worth trillions through the Malacca Straits. China is, however, responding with, we will delve a little later. But second part, where they're also trying to contain China, is its ability for an alternate route for trade and energy to the Middle East, which goes through Pakistan. However, this is called CPEC. Now, America knows and India knows, and the world knows, that ultimately the battle is going to be over CPEC. Because we will delve into the defense strategy of China in the Pacific. They will stave off the Americans over there, probably take Taiwan, but at the end, the battlefield is going to be on the CPEC route. Thank you. And now next we get into the CPEC with the Chinese A to AD strategy in the Pacific Rim. As we do this program, just now news came in that China's latest $6 million, 4 months to develop, open artificial intelligence has beaten ChatGPT with hundreds of billions of dollars behind it, and now DeepSeek is the number one AI on the Apple Store. Now let's talk about China. China's America containment both will occur on two sides. One is the South China Sea, and the other one is the CPEC route to Pakistan. They already have consolidated the route through India, India being the chief pradhan for the area. So let's analyze it. Basically, South China Sea consists of a lot of islands. If you look at the map, it stretches all the way from Sea of Japan down to the Philippines, down to Malaysia, into the Malacca Straits. And there's a lot of areas where China started to claim by making islands. And those islands in Spratly, other ones in the Philippines, they basically made them into unsinkable aircraft carriers, and they're militarizing them. So they plan to do that. The second thing they're doing is the China anti-access area denial strategy. It's a military strategy that aims to limit the freedom of action of American forces in the complete Pacific, South China Sea, and beyond that, up to Guam. China uses a combination of missiles, submarines, aircraft, and other systems to achieve this. How does China use the A2AD access anti-access area denial? One is sea denial. China uses missiles to limit the ability of enemy forces to operate in the water they claim to be territorial waters, and its missiles are supposedly now called carrier killers. That means they're designed specifically to sink American aircraft carrier. The second one is air denial. China wants to limit the use of the American aircraft to come into that area, and the way they're doing it is through hypersonic air-to-air missiles, 1,000 kilometer range. They're also using Starlink's thing to detect the American stealth, plus their own strength and their ability to shoot them down. Third one is China uses electronic warfare to limit the enemy forces to use the information tool. And last one is cyber warfare. China uses cyber warfare to limit the ability of U.S. forces to use information tools. Why does China use these two? China uses to counter military power in the United States and its allies. China also uses to limit the freedom of action of enemy forces. China uses A2AD to limit freedom of action of enemy forces in discrete regions. How does the U.S. respond to A2AD? They have developed a project, Marvin, not headed by Tom Cruise, but it's an actual project to counter China's A2AD and new missiles to counter China's missiles. That remains to be seen, especially when the Patriot missile battery is a complete failure in the different areas, and to be able to neutralize the ability to interfere or aid. In short, the Chinese have ensured American ability to intervene in an action against Taiwan is severely limited. However, one place does remain open, and it's a weak point. America can and will stop through the Malacca Straits any energy import China has or any exports China does to the Middle East. Now, that's a very weak point. To counter that, China has started for the last 10 years the CPEC route. The origins of this were laid with the Karakoram Highway in 1954, and China slowly worked to make sure it had the second route to the Middle East. China has divided about a few years ago their military forces into the Northern Command, Central Command, Eastern Command, Southern Command, and the Western Command. The strongest of them being the Western Command, which starts from the India's Arunachal Pradesh all the way up to Kashmir in Pakistan. Currently, they've been trying to negotiate with Pakistan to put in 30,000 troops. However, Pakistan has been resisting that, although the attacks on Chinese continue. So basically, Pakistan and CPAC is a weak point from a Chinese standpoint. Now, what is CPAC importance to China? This allows China to import power, oil, and gas from the Middle East and its exports to the Middle East. Now, this is not a small amount. Using CPAC route, China saves about $75 billion every year. On top of that, it reduces the time to market and from the oil fields to China to just a week or 10 days, as opposed to Malacca Straits, where it takes almost a month and a half. So the great advantage is here. Now, CPAC basically is a sea and land-based corridor aims to secure and shorten the route for China's energy imports from the Middle East, avoiding existing paths through the Straits of Malacca between Malaysia and Indonesia, which could bucket in case of war, thereby threatening China's energy-dependent economy. Security risks are challenges for CPAC, attacks on infrastructure, personnel, Chinese workers, and the BLA is really at the behest and funded by, you can guess who, including Afghanistan and India, to make sure that is happening. Okay. Pakistan is not doing an upcoming naval exercise with the Chinese in this region, and that has garnered a lot of support, including from Iran. Now, China continues to be focusing on CPAC very importantly. Now, the latest Chinese and Pakistan's armed exercise in the Navy, it has over 50 countries participating. Old Chinese proverb said, if you want to be rich, build roads first. Inspired by this proverb, Chinese are not building roads, railways, line, port, Rotherview. Renew them to this project. We will complete one more goal, that is the amelioration of all infrastructure for regional economic development. Pakistan is located in the critical point of the BRI. Due to its geopolitical location, increasing population, ease of access to seaports has become most important countries of the transportation for China. Also, for the North-South corridor for Russia. China aims to open East and West Europe through Eurasia using Sikran route via Pakistan. In addition, China seeks to expand trade with India, South East Africa, Red Sea, and Mediterranean by using the Silk Road. The CPAC is so important for China that it will be able to bring itself to the Southern Sea, contribute to the BRI in this connection, and the 12 trillion naval fleet of Pakistan is less than powerful and inexperienced than any other major nation in the world. We saw the incapability of the fleet to guard CPAC ports, have issued a new military strategy on May 26, 2015, under the name of Active Defense Policy. With this, it aims to protect and defend open seas, including the efficiency of sea combat. If this policy achieves its route, carrying Chinese goods, Pakistan use as a new market of the population will build. With its presence in the Gwadar port through CPAC, China will closely follow American relations in the Indian Ocean and the Basra Gulf. Additionally, China will connect itself to the Indian Ocean, fulfill motherland theory of China, who will be able to access Africa regions easily and quickly. The motherland theory of China is followed. In the heartland, China wants to control all economic corridors in the rimland. It already controlled Gwadar, ensuring its own power and reach in Africa. This basically is the total scenario. In the next geopolitical scenario, what China understands and the world understands, and I think we in Pakistan may be waking up to it, that we may be the battleground for the next phase of the war, geopolitical confrontation. One other thing to remember, before China moves on to Taiwan, it has to handle the India issue. India a little bit out of control. They are fighting up, punching above their weight class, way above the weight class. A $1.5 trillion economy taking over the Chinese $37 trillion economy. I mean, it's not really cool, but they're being used. However, that's where the main front will come. Whether this prospects into worthwhile hand or not, remains to be seen. Thank you.